Hello students, this is your flipped grammar lesson on compound complex sentences. For this lesson you will need your Whisk worksheet and a pen or a pencil. On your Whisk worksheet in the unit of study, please write compound complex sentences. Then in the W section, write where and when you watched this video. Are you ready to get started? Let's go! To make a compound complex sentence, we have to combine what we learned about compound sentences and complex sentences. So let's take a moment to look back at compound sentences. A compound sentence combines two or more independent clauses. Remember, an independent clause can stand on its own as a complete sentence. In order to combine the two independent clauses, you must use a comma and a coordinating conjunction. We used the mnemonic fanboys to remember some of the most common coordinating conjunctions. An example of a compound sentence is, "It was a beautiful day, so the children were able to have recess outside." We can tell that this is a compound sentence because on either side of the comma, the sentence could stand on its own. "It was a beautiful day" is an independent clause. "The children were able to have recess outside" is also an independent clause. We combined them with a comma and the coordinating conjunction so. The other element of a compound complex sentence that we need to review is the complex sentence part. Remember from last week that complex sentences combine at least one independent clause with at least one dependent clause. You can identify a dependent clause in a sentence because it usually begins with a subordinating conjunction. Remember, sometimes they start with a relative pronoun, but we mostly focused on subordinating conjunctions in our study of complex sentences. One example of a complex sentence is, "If it's too cold or rainy outside, the students have recess in the classroom." The independent clause in this sentence, meaning the part of the sentence that could stand on its own, is, "The students have recess in the classroom." That part of the sentence could be a sentence by itself with proper capitalization and punctuation. We can find the subordinating conjunction if at the beginning of this sentence. That makes "if it's too cold or rainy outside" a dependent clause. Therefore, we have a complex sentence. This little chart shows how we could put the compound sentence and complex sentence information together in order to make a compound complex sentence. As you can see, if a sentence has only one independent clause, it's a simple sentence. If it has two or more independent clauses, but no dependent clause, it is a compound sentence. On the bottom row, if a sentence has one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses, it is a complex sentence. Now, what we're going to be studying this week, in the bottom right corner, a compound complex sentence has two or more independent clauses and one or more dependent clauses. Let's look at some examples. So we're putting together what we've learned about compound sentences and complex sentences to make one compound complex sentence. A compound complex sentence has at least two independent clauses connected with a coordinating conjunction. This is the compound part, and that coordinating conjunction, or fanboys, is going to be a big hint for you to find those two independent clauses. The compound complex sentence also has at least one dependent clause that begins with a subordinating conjunction. So again, that subordinating conjunction will be your hint for the complex part of the compound complex sentence. At the bottom of the screen, here's an example. When the sun is shining, students enjoy many different outdoor games, but some students just walk around. In red, I highlighted the two different conjunctions that we can find in this sentence. When is a subordinating conjunction, and but is a coordinating conjunction. These show me that I have one of each, and I have a compound complex sentence. When the sun is shining is a dependent clause because it starts with a subordinating conjunction. Students enjoy many different outdoor games is an independent clause. It could stand on its own. Some students just walk around is also an independent clause that could stand on its own, and they are combined with the coordinating conjunction but. Next, you are going to try it. You will try to identify the independent and dependent clauses in the following compound complex sentences. To give you a hint, look for the coordinating, fanboys, and subordinating, why a bus, conjunctions that will help you identify the different types of clauses in the sentence. Watch the video and find the independent and dependent clauses in the sentence. The children waited patiently until the traffic was blocked off, and then they stampeded toward the playground. I hope you were able to find the independent and dependent clauses in order to figure out why this is a compound complex sentence. Let's see how you did. I have highlighted the different conjunctions in red. The conjunction until is a subordinating conjunction, which tells me that until the traffic was blocked off is a dependent clause. I also see that I have a fanboys or coordinating conjunction, which tells me that somewhere in this sentence I have two independent clauses lurking. The children waited patiently is one of those independent clauses. It could stand on its own as its own sentence. Then they stampeded toward the playground could also stand on its own as a sentence. So we have two independent clauses and one dependent clause in this compound complex sentence. Are you ready to try another one? While you watch the video, try to identify the independent and dependent clauses in the following compound complex sentence. Again, the coordinating and subordinating conjunctions will help you. Here's the sentence. Several kids watched while the boys spun around, and other kids climbed on the web. Did you figure out why this is a compound complex sentence? Let's take a look. Again, I highlighted the conjunctions in red. First, while is a subordinating conjunction. So, while the boys spun around is a dependent clause. It cannot stand on its own without the independent clauses that are also in this sentence. My coordinating conjunction, and, tells me that I have two independent clauses somewhere in the sentence. Several kids watched could stand on its own as its own sentence, so that's an independent clause. Other kids climbed the web is the other independent clause. Two independent clauses and one dependent clause makes a compound complex sentence. Let's try one more example. Identify the independent and dependent clauses in the following compound complex sentence. Look for the coordinating and subordinating conjunctions to help you. Because only 4 people can play at once, the girls had to take turns, but they all had fun. find out why this is a compound complex sentence by identifying the independent and dependent clauses in the sentence. I highlighted the conjunctions in red. Because is one of the most common subordinating conjunctions, and it's right here at the beginning of our sentence. So now I know, because only 4 people can play at once is a dependent clause starting our sentence off at the beginning. Next, I can see the coordinating conjunction, but. That conjunction is combining 2 independent clauses. The girls had to take turns. They all had fun. Both of those clauses could stand on their own as complete sentences. So, this sentence has a dependent and 2 independent clauses to make a compound complex sentence. We've come to the end of our lesson on compound complex sentences. Please watch the video again if you still need help understanding something about this topic. Then, complete the S and Q sections of your WISC worksheet. In the S section, write a 5-sentence summary of what you learned from the video. Then, in the Q section, write a question you might have about something you did not understand in the video. If you have no questions, write a test question for your classmates. Remember to complete this assignment on time and turn it in by the due date. We'll see you next week.